Well, ARK's Unreal Engine 5.5 upgrade has arrived amid exceedingly high expectations from the ARK fandom. This was the expected update to ARK Ascended that was going to fix the performance issues, to essentially make everything right with Ascended that had plagued it since launch, and the results have been, well, mixed. You've got players chiming in that they are seeing massive gains, while others, especially on AMD GPUs, are saying quite the opposite. Mods have been nuked, games are crashing, and oh look, here comes Snail Games with more ARK Aquatica news. Yeah, this one's going to be interesting. If you want to support the channel and content like this, the easiest and free way is to hit subscribe while setting the alerts to receive all. And now, let's get into the latest with ARK. Obviously, the headline here is the launch and mixed reception for Ascended's Unreal Engine 5.5 upgrade. Now, during my last ARK video a few weeks ago, I mentioned June and how difficult this month would potentially be for Studio Wildcard. They had to get the launch for 5.5 nailed down because it was related to everything else coming later this month, like the pre-sales for ARK Lost Colony, the anticipated launch of Ragnarok, and so on. And true to form, Wildcard missed their launch window, this time by a few days, which at this point has become a tradition with ARK. Jumping into the upgrade itself, and while yes, there are a ton of quality of life and bug fixes here packed into the accompanying update to the engine upgrade itself, such as the ability to download individual DLC maps, saving our hard drives from being overrun with nothing but ARK. Anyways, the performance expectations here versus what the players got with Unreal 5.5 has been, like I said, in a word, mixed. Now, as of July 2024, Jeremy Stieglitz was making statements about moving Ascended to Unreal Engine 5.4 at that time, along with the implementation of FSR 3.1 with a launch date of September 2024, but that idea was then scrapped, targeting early 2025 with a shift over to UE 5.5, with all maps receiving the new treatment by the release of Ragnarok, which at this point is still set for June 18th. But the centerpiece, which everything has been building up to, is this UE 5.5 upgrade, which players have been waiting for in some form for now nearly a year. Would it solve the performance issues with Ascended? Would the graphics bump up significantly? Would lower and mid-level systems now be able to handle this iteration of ARK? The answer to all of those questions is maybe. Let me explain. For most reports prior to 5.5 going live, the main issue with Ascended was just how hungry it was in terms of wanting a lot of VRAM, or video RAM. Just like your CPU has dedicated RAM, so does your graphics card, which is dedicated memory that stores data like textures, models, and shaders, allowing your GPU to quickly access this information for graphics rendering. Long story short here, there were many players out there that were attempting to play Ascended with GPUs that were simply running out of VRAM versus just how much the game was wanting. Not to make any mention of just how poorly optimized Ascended is, but anyways, this led to massive performance issues like stuttering. Think of it this way. What happens if you start up a car, you leave it in neutral, and then you slam the accelerator to the floor? It's of course going to max out the revs until it hits the safety mechanism, in this case the rev limiter, at which point it's going to bounce off of that rev limiter as the motor tries to pull down off of maximum revs in an attempt at self-preservation. Well, those GPUs with stuttering issues were doing much the same. Ascended was overtaxing them, causing them to need and use over 100% of available VRAM, which led to stuttering, among other issues with Ascended. Now, of course, that's a greatly simplified explanation as to the multitude of woes plaguing this game, but it's all kind of interrelated here. Pop-in, poor texture renders, etc., etc. Ascended demanded more than many rigs were capable of delivering, and the performance suffered as a result. Which brings us to the engine upgrade to Unreal 5.5. How was it going to create a better playing experience with Ascended, which in turn might entice more players to then purchase it that were previously stuck on Evolved and make that switch without the need to spend thousands of dollars to upgrade their current setups? And the patch itself was a new performance-only graphics preset on PC, which disabled everything possible to boost frame rates at the cost of sheer visual quality. But at the end of the day, why would you spend money to purchase Ascended and then scale it back so much it looks like Evolved but runs far worse? I mean, who would do that? Anyways, the big change to the game itself as part of this upgrade was made to the native visual fidelity, which in turn brought down the cap for the hunger for VRAM Ascended has proven to have shown. All of the footage here are from my recordings using a 4090 GPU, which has 24 gigs of VRAM, and I not only recorded the game using all the upscaling presets from ultra performance over to quality, but I also experimented with native 4K, then using console commands to disable volumetric clouds and fog, which are proven FPS killers. Essentially, what has happened here is that the base game of Ascended has been scaled back in terms of visual fidelity in order to create a bigger VRAM ceiling or cap, allowing cards with less than 24 gigs to operate on less than 100% needs or more, reducing stuttering and in theory creating a smoother and more responsive experience by relying more heavily now on frame generation and upscaling. Personally, yes, I can see higher FPS than prior to the update, but there were side effects to this method. Stability issues and artifacting are now much more noticeable, and despite the colors popping much more than I remember, almost like the entire game has had a vibrant LUT slathered all over it, I noticed that textures just didn't look as crisp as prior to Unreal Engine 5.5 being installed. Alright, now that we have a general idea of what Wildcard has done here, let's next turn to the player reactions. And to be honest, these are wildly different accounts on a scale I don't think anyone was truly prepared for. Many players who had high-end rigs prior to this update were reporting losses in performance with UE 5.5, especially those on AMD cards, with some reports coming in of losses in performance as high as 30%, which is staggering. Many times, you don't get the full story as player statements often don't include their hardware specs, but in contrast to the AMD card performance losses, there are also many players out there reporting that they have seen huge gains with this new upgrade. But again, what's concerning here is just how varied these reports are. For every player is saying that they've never seen the game run this well, you've got a completely different report from a player that says they were running fine prior to 5.5 and now the game for them has turned to shit. And it doesn't seem to be isolated to a certain GPU brand or series or to a specific console. Now, how much of this player feedback is legit? I honestly don't know, because we've seen the bot invasions happen before when it comes to some of these divisive ARK topics. But this is insane just how different these accounts are for the results of this upgrade. However, one thing that seems to be a bit more consistent is just how badly this upgrade has landed for console owners, especially those that run mods, which I would wager is a vast majority of you. Consistent reports of the game not booting at all, chain crashing, and even throwing up codes like "you don't own the game" have flooded the official Discord and Reddit. Some other console owners are posting that they've never seen the game run this buttery smooth. And it's been difficult for me to siphon through all of this feedback and make decisions as to what is real and what is not. But, you know, the general consensus here is that console is not running like it should, sometimes not at all, which next leads us up to mods. This topic has been an ever-evolving story with CurseForge. As of June the 6th, they posted a statement saying that they were running a software fix for console mods, which was expected to take several hours. A day later, so as of the time of this recording, that was yesterday, they again posted that they were working with Wildcard to resolve the issues. And here we are, hot off the press, as of this morning, June the 8th, still more issues with mods persist. But the premium mods are at least now showing up on console. And all of this happening and going down during the ARK 10-year anniversary event. I mean, overall, it's just not a great look for this franchise. But hey, what better time to drop a new Power Rangers bundle onto the community with free bonus content? This time, it's the Pack 1 and Pack 2 bundles combined for $14.99. And wasn't it back in February that Pack 2 was on sale for basically $10? I mean, ill timing for sure, not only announcing this pack 1 and 2 combo during the current ongoing issues with this UE 5.5 engine upgrade, but now it's showing up at a reduced bundle price not long after players shelled out full price for pack 2? Talk about not being able to read the room. And I don't know if this was Wildcard or Snail Games jamming this combo into the latest Community Crunch, but they could have at least waited to get the 5.5 implementation a bit more settled and stable before again opening up the ARK microtransaction cash register. ARK Aquatica seems to be back, and in a major way. Interesting timing for sure, as Ascended is currently staggering around from its UE 5.5 launch woes, but Aquatica's here as part of the IGN live event. Snail Games revealed a new trailer for Evolve's Aquatica, in which it looks like they're finally taking this undertaking seriously, bringing on heavyweights 𝔾𝕖𝕟𝕒 and Gareth Coker to show they mean business, upping not only the quality of the trailers itself, especially after that god-awful AI slop they showed off at GDC, but also bringing on Coker to handle the background music. Now, recently, Aquatica has gone from get it in June to now get it coming soon, but there seems to be a dedicated core evolved group out there that is looking at Aquatica and saying, yeah, I might give that a shot. Now, speaking for myself, after what went down in late 2023 and how Evolved was abandoned and shut down to push players over to Ascended, to now seeing Snail turn the lights back on for what I guess will be official servers and to bring back a new paid DLC in honor of ARK's 10-year anniversary, let's just say that's several bridges too far for me. However, that might be a great question for chat. When Aquatica launches, are you keen to purchase it and play it for yourself on these limited time official servers, especially now that they've changed the Steam description to state that it will be initially releasing on PC, indicating this should also be coming to consoles? I've not noticed that change before. Anyways, leave a comment and let me know if you're in or out on Aquatica and why. Aquatica aside, now more than ever, there seems to be an interesting dynamic at play here between Wildcard and Snail Games, which has been a rocky relationship to begin with, but with Ascended reeling after their mixed and polarizing 5.5 upgrade launch, and now Snail Games clearly deciding to fully enter the ring with Evolve's Aquatica, it makes you wonder what those internal meetings are like. Now, we know from leaked internal documents that Aquatica was originally set to release for Ascended, and somewhere, somehow, that idea was shut down. Now, it's in direct competition with Ascended, further cementing a fracture between the ARK player base, which at the moment is heavily favoring Evolved. Steam currently shows over a 2-to-1 Evolved to Ascended player ratio, and despite Ascended being both on Game Pass and PlayStation Plus, it's losing momentum, falling out of the top 50 for Xbox, and at the time of this recording is currently sitting somewhere around number 25 on the PlayStation charts. The question is Snail Games currently taking advantage of this situation to push their leverage with Evolved players, and can Wildcard and Ascended get their acts together before Ragnarok's launch later this month? Now, if I were a betting man, which I'm not, but if I were, I'd say maybe. It's going to take a patch to patch the patch of the patch to finally get things more manageable, but the fact that so many players are reporting wildly different results with 5.5 is setting off serious alarm bells. This was built up to be the big engine upgrade that many players were looking towards to fix the pressing issues with Ascended, and for many it has, while for others, it's opened up a completely new set of issues. Remember to hit subscribe and ring the notifications bell to receive my latest upload alerts. A massive thank you for those of you who have hit the join button and become a channel member. Your support makes content like this possible, and until the next one, this is 𝐿TBuzzLitebeer, signing off.